To order at 7:05 p.m. and thank you for the tech help over there in the emergency. I'd like to start the meeting with a moment of silence honoring the Sandy Hook victims. As many people know, you probably couldn't miss, today is the 10th anniversary of the horrible killings of 26 people in that school. So if everybody would please stand and observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Why don't you stay standing for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you, folks. I'd like to acknowledge that Ilda Ray is not here with us this evening as she's traveling to deal with a family matter. And we do have Mark Doyle and Brendan O'Neill with us via the computer online. And it is Mark's birthday today, I believe. So happy birthday, Mark Doyle. Woo!
Thank you. I didn't attend today in person because if you didn't give me a present, I wouldn't give you time.
Well, we're impressed that you're joining us. Thank you. So I'll entertain a motion for approval of the November 9th, 2022 minutes.
So moved.
Moved by Paula. Do I get a second? Second by Katina. Is there any discussion of those minutes? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor of approving the minutes, please indicate by raising your hand. Mark and Brendan have raised their hands. It's unanimous, right? Or, yeah. I didn't see you two, but I'm assuming you both raised your hands. So now we're on to public comment. I know that Tom DeVivo is planning on speaking during public comment. Is there anybody else who signed up ahead of him? Yep, you just come up here to... Oh, during the discussion? Well, okay, you can do it during the discussion. That's fine. You can wait, and we'll do it then. Thanks. I didn't know that, so thanks. Yes. Liz, you would like to speak? Okay.
Can you? Okay. Dear Board of Ed members, Windham Public School staff, and Windham Public School families, my name is Liz Baumgardner, the president of the Windham Association of Administrators. I want to take a moment to formally thank and recognize two of our members who will be leaving Windham Public Schools to continue their professional journeys. Suzanne Craw, our Director of Pupil Services, has served our district for 18 years in a variety of roles that included special education teacher, assistant principal, interim principal, assistant director, and director. Her wealth of knowledge of special education, her ability to work with our families, and the expansion of specialized programs have elevated our special education department in countless ways. Her presence and dedication to this department will be greatly missed. Sarah Larson, currently our supervisor of pupil services for the secondary level, also served previously as our district-wide BCBA. She has worked for our district for 6 years. Her ability to teach and support our most challenging behavioral students is a gift. Those in the special education field recognize that a teacher and leader like Sarah are hard to come by. She modeled resilience, patience, and a love for students that is second to none. She too will be greatly missed. I appreciate the Board of Education's time for allowing me to speak on behalf of the administrative leadership team, and on behalf of the Windham Association of Administrators. We wish our two colleagues the very best in their future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you for speaking up on that, and I'm sure members of the Board of Ed would echo what you're saying, and the rest of the administrators. I see a lot of nodding heads. Sad to see you go. You both go. Anybody else during public comment? Nobody? Okay. So under Board Chair's report, I just want to say that this will be our last meeting of the calendar year. And when we come back in January, we will be, stepping right into the budget setting season, and also some important discussions related to the budget. I have started having conversations with board members about what their priorities for the next 6 months are, and I still have some board members that I need to speak with, and then I'll be working with Dr. Youngberg to try to map out a way for us to make sure we stay focused on the big issues before us. We're also going to be having the start of a very important conversation about elementary school consolidation this evening. We're in a very different place than we were earlier this year on this issue, with some new opportunities and new thinking, and I encourage everybody to stay tuned for that conversation, and also to know that that's going to be an ongoing conversation, nothing that will be, decided this evening. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Youngberg.
Thank you very much. Good evening. As the board knows, we have a number of items in the superintendent's report. I'll go through sort of briefly, and please ask any questions or add any comments. The first item on my report is Windham Middle School's update. As you know, I've been updating the board every 2 weeks on the middle school's progress. Several of the board members attended the middle school's improvement committee meeting virtually, which we appreciate board members taking the time to do that. At that particular meeting, the leadership team went through each of the indicators on the accountability index to show just how they're moving forward, and the data is looking really good. It's early. We're still only about a third of the way through the school year, but we are seeing some promising pieces of data. As the board is also aware, the State Department of Ed has recently changed their classification and identified them. Well, they told me it was a focus school. It sounds like it's actually listed as a turnaround school. So we've looked it up online, so they gave us slightly different information there. But nonetheless, the new distinction means more state oversight than we were originally planning. The one thing I can tell you that I think we're in good shape with is that we've already started out as if we were under the more intense classification, so I think we're in good shape. All the things we have in place are going to help us get off that list, because that's the ultimate goal. Any questions on the middle school? And I see Ms. Haddad's here if there are one member of their leadership team. No? Okay.
I was just wanted to impressed with the number of activities and clubs, and it'll be interesting down the line to see, behaviors and improvement as a result of that kind of participation. So thank you for that.
Yeah, they're already seeing a pretty clear reduction in behavioral incidents, and there's great attendance at those clubs and all the spirit activities they have planned. So far so good. Fingers crossed. Let's keep moving.
Yeah, I just want to know if the schedule of Carlos de la Barrera has been updated again?
It's back to the way it was, the 3 days at Windham Middle School and 2 days at North Windham Elementary. Yep. Any other questions? Okay. Three Kings Day, as everyone knows, we celebrate Three Kings Day annually, and this year it's being celebrated on Saturday, January 7th. So we're inviting all families. We're coordinating with the Windham's Recreation Center, Town of Windham's Recreation Center, and families are invited to bring their children down and get a warm meal and some gifts. We have to thank Mr. Camacho, Mr. Robinson Camacho, for his department's work. It's a wonderful event, and I think we have at least one of the kings in the room. Is that correct, Mr.? Dr. Ware is one of our kings this year, whether he likes it or not, I think. So that should be a fun event. The district survey, any other questions about Three Kings Day? No, okay. The district survey, we actually had to move our meeting from Monday due to the delayed opening until today. So we had our first meeting of the district survey committee. It was made up of several staff members, teachers, members of the WFEP, our paraprofessionals, members of the clerical staff, members of central office. We had a total of 12 people. Actually, there's a picture behind you of the committee working in the room. They went through the general data from the survey. There's massive amounts of data for us to sort of go through and analyze. The board will receive a copy of all the general data that the committee worked with today. We'll be forwarding you all the pie graphs that show you the questions that were asked to families, students, and staff. Some of the highlights, there's definitely some strengths that you'll see right away, and there's definitely some areas that we need to focus on. And this committee will be helping us to weed through the rest of the general data and then get to school-specific data and come up with action plans. They worked really hard. Actually, several of the members are in the room right now. So Grace Sanchez from Human Resources, Liz Baumgardner was on the committee, Neil Weathers. Did I miss anyone? Oh, and Holly was on the committee as well. So a number of people are here. So this committee is sort of going to be instrumental in moving us forward. Some of the highlights, it seems like the families felt like the school and district communication was something that they thought was helpful. So that's always a good thing to hear. The staff thinks that there's really strong relationships that they've built with students. Again, a really positive thing. Students made it clear that their education matters to them. And then there's some areas that we really need to dig deeper into. Understanding the uniform policy and who actually is in favor of it and who isn't. We have many follow-up questions. We have some follow-up questions about students feeling safe in their schools. We have some follow-up questions on school-specific visions. A number of things, areas are going to spin out, but we'll send you that data and you can see at least the general. And then after we go through the school-specific data, which is scheduled for January 5th, we'll also send that along to the board. Any questions?
Mary?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if staff is one whole category or whether it distinguishes teaching staff versus other staff, and what was the percentage of their participation. And I would also like to say I do think it should be an anonymous survey.
Okay, so I can't answer the question about the percentage of certified and non-certified without the data in front of me. I'm pretty sure that we asked some distinguishing questions in there, but I don't want to answer that until I have the data in front of me. The survey was anonymous. It did ask for an email, but we didn't use it as a way to identify anyone in the survey, so it technically was anonymous. And there was a third part. I thought there were 3 questions. Did I miss one?
The percentage of staff who participated.
So we had 345 staff responses. We have about 760 staff members, so about 50%, which is not great, which is exactly what I told the board. I was really disappointed with the participation rates.
I'm sure as this information rolls out and we begin to, as a district, react and make changes and or emphasize things that are working well as we move forward, that this will be something that the board and the superintendent can talk about as a tool, not just for this year, but for continuing use, and how we can continue to make it better and get more participation in years to come.
Absolutely. Anything else on the survey?
Mark and Brendan, I'm looking to see if I see your hands, but if I don't call on you for some reason, please just chime in, okay? I see you nodding, great. So go right ahead, Tracy.
Okay, next on report is the update from athletics. We had a number of really proud things to share with the board. 59 of our fall student athletes were named scholar athletes, meaning that not only did they play on a sports team, but they made the honor roll or high honor roll, so we're always proud of that. The football team had an amazing season, 9-1 season, and made it to the playoffs. We had 21 Windham High School athletes who earned all conference or honorable mention distinctions. Both Randall Pros and Zach Konopka coaches were named to the ECC Coach of the Year, which is an amazing feat all by itself. And the turf field and track will be officially handed over to us, we believe, on December 16th, Friday. So wonderful, positive things in the athletic department. Any questions there? Okay, next up is the introduction to the Teaching and Learning video series. We have a little clip to share with you tonight. We are putting together a database of our own teachers in action, and Mr. Camacho has taken on the editing of these videos because it's not an easy job, and he has a clip he's going to share with us tonight from our, I believe it's a 4th grade teacher at North Windham Elementary School. Is it ready to go?
Thank you, Robinson. And Ms. Peterson.
Absolutely. And eventually, if we do this right, we're going to have an entire database of our teachers in action with full videos. This is just a snippet that we can use in professional development, in recruitment potentially. There's a variety of ways with families. There's a variety of ways for us to use this. So we're moving forward with the Teaching and Learning video series. Any questions?
When you say longer, is it so that another teacher or a parent watching, teacher would know how to actually implement what Ms.
Yes.
Peterson is doing
So that
with
was
the
a snippet
class?
with all the pieces of her lesson. You're actually going to be able to watch the entire lesson.
Okay, and then,
Or an
so
entire
a
strategy
parent
played
who
out.
wanted to understand, or a Board of Ed member who wanted to understand. Okay.
Absolutely.
How will that be available to people?
Well, I don't know if we've actually officially decided where it's going to live, but there will be a digital database that you can access. So we're working on that as well. Any other questions? Okay, the next in my report is the superintendent's evaluation rubric. This was the rubric that was sent to us after we had the discussion about the evaluation. It's being voted on tonight by the board. It's basically, it's another way that CABE utilizes or allows boards to evaluate superintendents. I think it might be helpful. I guess I'll let the board members decide that since you'll be using it in your evaluation of me. But tonight they vote on whether you'd like this tool to move forward to be used in January or February.
And it will be, it's being recommended by the committee. Has it gone through a committee?
So
That's all I want,
it was-
I'm wondering.
It didn't officially go through the committee. It was emailed to the committee after the meeting. So, I mean,
So the committee hasn't had a chance to discuss it?
it came through email. I mean, I have no problem with the board using the tool.
Okay,
So
okay, well, we'll get to it when we
Yeah.
get to discussion. Okay.
Okay, fair enough. Attendance and discipline data, just give you,
Yes, Mark?
uh-oh.
Superintendent evaluation vote, I don't see it as an action item. Am I missing something?
Do you want us to vote on it tonight, or do you want to wait till January?
Well, let's wait till we get to the committee reports, because it should technically be coming out of a committee, so that's all, so. We may or may not be voting on it tonight. Let's see what people think.
Okay, in terms of the attendance and discipline data, you all have a full chart, a summary chart in your packet. I don't know if there's any specific questions.
Does anybody on the board have any questions on the information that was shared with us? Okay, hearing none, we'll keep moving along then. Thank you, Dr. Youngberg. So now we're on to committee reports and Personnel Committee. I mean, this would be the committee that would be recommending the tool.
Right, and we did have a brief discussion about the rubrics versus the kind of comprehensive discussion. I don't think there was there was no vote actually taken as a committee. But I know that there have been comments in the past that have indicated that the rubric would be much easier as an evaluation tool. So I guess it's up to the board as to whether we want to accept that or wait till the Personnel Committee meets again, but would seem to me that we should be able to move forward. I know that by February, there's going to be the presentation from the superintendent, so if we want to have time with the holidays and everything to get used to the tool, but again, that's up to the full board.
Well, I will say that we did discuss using this CABE tool at our retreat earlier in the year. So this isn't a new topic. I just
Right.
I guess I was sort of taken aback that the committee hadn't reviewed it and made a recommendation. But if the board feels that they feel comfortable moving along with this, which I know I certainly do, I would entertain a motion to add it to the agenda for action tonight. So let's let people let that sink in a little, and anybody have anything they want to talk about related to that now? Or do you have any other things you want to report?
I think several of the things have already been mentioned, that the survey was on the agenda and the meeting had been postponed, so there was nothing to report there. Grace reported on the staffing needs that we still had, also on the resignations that we've had, and she's going to be providing the committee with a little more specific information about those resignations. We discussed a lot of what is being done for recruitment and retention, working with various agencies, and supporting those teachers who are looking for cross-endorsement and who are on the road to becoming certified teachers. And I think that's all I've got.
Any other additions or questions? Or comments? Yeah, Mary?
Yeah, I just want to say that originally, when the board was adopting the evaluation tool a few years ago, we only had CABE, and it was at the suggestion of Dr. Youngberg, who was going through the accreditation to kind of merge. So for a year or so, we kind of merged the different tools. Somehow this rubric, got put to the side, but it's nothing new, and it was created by CABE, who also created the guidelines, which is what we used. So I just want to make sure that people aren't thinking that we have suddenly gotten something that is new and has never been discussed before by the board.
Katina?
May I make a motion to include this tool in our agenda for our vote and approval
Under action items?
under action items?
Yes. So Katina's put a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Paula. Any further discussion? All those in favor of adding it to the agenda for action, please indicate by raising your hand. It's unanimous. Thank you. Finance and audit. Mark, you're up.
Well, I don't recall if we already reported on the November 16th, but I know we haven't voted on those journal entries, so let me just do a quick. November 16th, we had a meeting where we reviewed the year-end budget. We also went over the budget transfers, which was $766,255. At that point, you should have these numbers in front of you, I hope. We also had a review of the state partnership plan for the health insurance, which we have, committee decided they wanted to put forward to, I think it's our January meeting, where we'll have the state come in and actually have a chance for the entire board to review and interview and talk about that plan. At the same time, we also asked that the attorney give us a legal opinion as to what would happen should we get to the point where we feel we must separate from the town. Then we had a special finance and audit meeting on December 6th because of some special transfers that needed to be handled to special ed expenses. And unfortunately, I don't seem to have that number right in front of me, but again, I'm hoping that Rita's already provided them for us. We have them there too. So in both cases, the recommendation was to approve the budget transfers.
Mark, Mary's just pointing to in the packet we have, a total of, $395,125 from the 12/6 meeting.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah, that's so it's roughly $1 million. It's just over $1 million is what we're looking to buy.
okay. So we'll take action on that. You're recommending we take action, the committee's recommending we take action tonight on that, on those transfers?
Correct.
Okay. Any further questions or comments on the Finance and Audit Committee? Oh, we also did hear a report that the audit should be completed by the end of January, I believe, and things are going along pretty smoothly, I think, based on the report that we've gotten. But I know that Rita, who couldn't be here with us tonight, has been working diligently on that with the town. Okay, anything on policy? So I'm going to hand.
Certainly.
Yes.
Hi, good
Just a
evening,
few things.
everybody. And thank you to the administration and Holly for being so diligent. We have a very active, focused, and efficient committee. As you can notice, there are multiple policies for your consideration and approval for tonight. But to make it even clearer, I will point out that number one, under the possible action and policies, number 1 and number 6 have to be voted separately. The others, we can consider voting in groups. For example, from number 2 to number 5 in your agenda of the policies, they are all model policies provided and approved by Shipman and Goodwin. And later on, from 7 to 15 are repeal policies, as these are either no longer laws in the state of Connecticut or apply. So when we go there to the possible actions, please note number 1 and number 6 we'll have to consider separately. We cannot group. And we move on, and now Holly has organized our website in such a way that is clearer for everybody which were the policies that are now approved and functioning and guiding our school system as we are directed to do as a Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you for all that work that you all have been doing. It's exactly what we need to have done, and it's nice that we're plugging away on it. Does anybody have any questions for Katina? Go ahead, Mary.
Just when you say number 1, do you mean the policies are numbered 1 through 15? Because mine seems to start with like item 7, but.
Under action items, letter D,
Okay.
they are
under
in
D.
Roman numeral numbers, so that's why I
E1,
clarified.
I was
What?
looking at the reference. Okay.
That makes sense now? Yeah, okay. Thank you. Anybody else? Okay, we have lots of things to take action on then when we get to that part of the agenda. And then not last but not least, school planning and design. And Brendan, I'm going to kick it over to you. Thank you, Brendan. Anybody have any questions or comments for Brendan? Yes.
Do we have the ability to follow up on when the final state reports are turned in? It seems to have been nagging us the last couple of capital improvements to get a report sent to the state and get a reimbursement.
I'll make sure that we check on that as well.
Thank you for bringing that up, Mark. Does anybody else have any questions or comments for Brendan? Okay, so hearing none, we're going to go on to the big discussion and presentation item for this evening, which is return to the conversation about elementary school consolidation. And I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Youngberg and team to walk us through the
I'm going to just stand at the podium.
yeah, that's better. Yeah.
You all have copies of the slides. What I can tell you is there's an error on the slides you received, on the copies you received. You're going to see, you don't have it? Holly, did they get a copy?
No, we're just going to see it on the
Oh,
screen.
okay, you're going to watch it on the screen. I thought you all had copies.
And then after that presentation, before we get deep into discussion, I will ask Tom DeVivo to make his comments, and then we have Bob Roach here with us this evening. Nice to see you in person, to be a resource for us, and you should feel free to add anything you want this evening. So go ahead.
Okay, I want to just, I'm sorry, I'm asking you to do too many things at one time. You want me to just take the clicker and then you can be freed up there? Okay, so I'm going to go through scenario number 1, as we're calling it. It is the scenario that the School Planning and Design Committee voted recommended we move forward for a full discussion with the board. Before we jump into scenario number one, I just want to remind everyone all the reasons why we are looking at an elementary consolidation. There are multiple benefits to doing it. It's a big change. I understand it takes, people time to adjust to change. But given our current enrollment and the fact that it is declining, we need to be fiscally responsible. We need to be able to, I noticed an error. I hate when I find typos, and it's my own typo since I did this slide. I apologize. ESSER does not have 3 S's. We're looking at being fiscally responsible, developing sustainable budgets so that we can support students and not have these up and down spikes in the things we're able to provide to them, but rather a slow and steady trajectory forward. We know we have declining enrollment, aging school buildings, and the ESSER funds that we've been relying pretty heavily on will be disappearing in 2024. The redesign of the district will maximize the teachers' impact and our support staff's impact. It will offer us an opportunity to make sure all students in the district have equitable learning experiences. It will allow us to increase the elementary offerings, provide adequate instructional materials, and improve student outcomes, hopefully in all areas. Scenario number one has 2 things happening simultaneously. It actually impacts all of our elementary schools in a different way. It would allow us to build a new K-4 elementary school on the Sweeney site, and that elementary school would house approximately 700 students. So it's a large elementary school, but a brand new building on the site that currently houses Sweeney. So the Sweeney school would be gone, and a brand new state-of-the-art facility would be in its place. Oops. At the same time, the North Windham School would be renovated as new and moved into a K-4 dual language school, which having a dual language school is a dream of the districts for quite some time. This would allow us to do that. Given the numbers, the fact that we can house 400 students or so at North Windham and 700 students in the new construction, we would not need Natchog and Windham Center schools. All of this is based on the idea that grade 5 would go back to Windham Middle School for the start of 24-25, which was in the original plan shared last year. And I just have an asterisk up there about the fact that one of the town buildings, Natchog or Windham Center, could potentially be used by the district in the future. I know the town makes that decision, and they may have other plans for the building, but we currently have a 3-year lease on the core and AWP site on Route 6 in North Windham. We could potentially renew that lease or look at other options after that, so just want everyone to be thinking about that. This is what the district looks like sort of in visual. The students would be in the Early Childhood Center, which will soon be relocated into Windham High School. They would then go on to the new construction K-4 school on the Sweeney site, or into the newly renovated building on the North Windham site, which will be our dual language school. They also have the option of going to Charles Barrows if they get in through the lottery. Then they move on to the middle school, which will be grades 5 through 8, and also dual language, which right now it's dual language 6 through 8, but it would be expanded to include the 5th grade, and then they move on to the high school. Any questions so far, or just keep going? Okay, so the K-4 new construction on the Sweeney site, again, would house about 700 students. The estimated cost, thank you, Bob, would be about $42 million. The town share of that would be $12.9 million. That's at a 69.64% reimbursement rate. We have seen that we can potentially increase that reimbursement rate. It's happened at the high school project, so we're hopeful something might happen for this particular project. But right now, that's the state reimbursement rate that we would be locked in if nothing else happened. The new school would be a 2-story state-of-the-art facility, and it would have a separate gymnasium and cafeteria. For those of you who know the Sweeney site, it does not have a gymnasium and cafeteria. It's actually a gymnasium, cafeteria, and auditorium, or one room. The youngest students would be housed on the 1st floor. That's the current code. The school campus would need to be reconfigured to ensure the students have access outside, adequate parking, and safe bus travel. And this would allow us to offer expanded specials classes, and obviously we would have people making the decisions about what that looked like. But we would have the ability, staffing-wise, to offer additional things that we don't currently offer. The Renovate is new on the North Windham site. Again, a school of approximately 400. Currently, I think they have 428 students. The reimbursement rate's a little higher there. The total cost of that project is $17.7 million. The town shares $3.6 million at that rate. There would be a focus, a theme of dual language and cultural competence. That campus actually already has really adequate outdoor space for students. It's got a big backyard, plenty of places for them to run, and it already has a gym and a cafeteria. It is the largest elementary school in our district. It definitely needs a new campus traffic pattern and a safe bus travel and expansions on their parking opportunities. So in this Renovate project, I would be pushing to make sure that we address those issues because they continue to be an issue on that campus. Again, we would increase the offerings, and there would no longer be the need to have students use the portable classroom. Actually, there would be no portable classrooms used anywhere in the district with this plan. Some of the potential savings, we know when we look at the district, when we move students into fewer buildings, we can save at least 6 classrooms. We're using current enrollment. We don't know. It looks like it's still continuing to decline, but obviously when we move this forward, we may not be looking at the same numbers. There would be staffing reductions at all levels, all across the district, but we again are committed to making those reductions without layoffs. We would reduce considerably the operational costs from Windham Center and Natchog School. There would be benefits in instructional supplies and professional development. For example, we purchase items sometimes to have certain copies available in every school or a number of items available in every school. We'd have fewer locations. We wouldn't need to get as many of those things. Professional development, there would be 2 K-4 sites we would be supporting instead of the 4 that we have right now. And then there's potential transportation savings. We know we'll have fewer places to go, and we believe that means we can put more kids on buses than might be on buses right now, and you pay per bus. So we do think there's a savings. Again, we don't have the exact addresses, so it's strictly a numbers game. We can get more information if the board decides they want us to move forward on this. Some questions that still need to be answered. Obviously, we need community support for the project and for the dual language school. I believe we will have both, but they are questions to answer. We're still working out the exact details of what the dual language school, how it will be configured. I'm wondering if we'll consider having both construction projects happening simultaneously, if that's even possible, if there'll be one referendum to approve both. If we can get either of those or both of those on the docket by June. Bob has given us some data on how long it might take to build these schools and renovate these schools. If the Sweeney School site was emptied, we're looking at 2.5 to 3 years from design to complete the construction. Based on the current enrollment, Sweeney can be absorbed into the other elementary schools temporarily, meaning we could close down Sweeney School, build the new one, and then put the students back after that. If the North Windham site is emptied, it would take 12 to 18 months. If the students were present, closer to 24 to 36 months. Based on the current enrollment, we could absorb North Windham School into the other schools, but it may require use of the portable classrooms temporarily. Neil and I have been fiddling with the numbers of classrooms we currently have and where we fit them, and we're a few classrooms short based on the current numbers. I know, it's like... So we could make it work. We could empty both schools if we had to. We need to know the exact numbers we're talking about at the time. So those are some questions that need to be answered.
Thank you, Dr. Youngberg. I'd like to ask Mayor Tom DeVivo to come up at this point and talk about this. Dr. Youngberg and I have had some discussion with the town because, to move forward on this, we need support from the town and the taxpayers. And we also have had discussion at the board level at our retreat in August about the possibility of pursuing a new option. And that's what led us to the point we're at this evening, and have had some discussions with Bob Roach about, what the cost and whether the construction at the sites that are being proposed is actually feasible. So, Tom, I think you want to talk about this from the town's perspective.
Do you have to hold it down? All right. You know, I want to address some of the questions that were on the slides, though, right off. The community support for the project, I think we can do this. We can get the community to support this project. It's far-reaching. I have stood before many groups of our community talking about capital projects. I mean, and I have done things that I didn't think I would ever have done. But when it comes to education, the community always comes out to support the schools. And I think that we can get the community to come out. I think the dual language concept is so unique, it actually might increase your numbers. So you should be prepared for that. And if we can we will get a referendum passed. In my garage, I have piles of yes signs. So make sure the question, you have to vote yes, not vote no to get the answer to be yes. But if we can get this done, I really do believe we can pass this in June 2023. I think this is a project worth doing. But I did pass out some testimony, which Brandon and Mark, I can email to you later tonight when I get home. But we received 95% reimbursement for the high school. That's an approximate savings of $17 million. Watching Dr. Youngbird's slides, that's our $17 million that the town would have to pay. Who knows? We have wonderful state representatives and a great state senator. We may be able to get a higher reimbursement. I will go to Hartford. Your chairman will go to Hartford. We'll ask for it. I'm not shy. I'll ask for money from the state, whatever it takes. Our financing costs for the community center, the senior community center, and intermodal transportation center, which is our parking garage, came in at like less than 1%. So we financed them at a very low rate. So our debt load is lower than expected. We're in very good shape financially. We have substantial reserves. The Board of Finance has asked us to keep our reserves at approximately 18%, but we're nearing 20. Our revenues are very strong in all the areas. Our grand list has been growing, which has been a goal of the town, to grow our grand list, because that gives us more money to spend on projects. So if we continue on this path, this shouldn't hurt us. But we've been getting state grants. Our revenues are up for the building permits and sewer permits and water. I mean, as a result, even last year, and not everyone saw it because there was some increase in vehicles, but we actually brought in a decrease in the property tax last year. And this year, we're looking at, for the town side, bring in close to zero. Or it actually is zero presently, a zero increase. I don't think we're going to be able to lower it again, but we should be able to bring in at zero. And I know we have high inflation, but we can still combat it, and because with high inflation, we have higher values. Most of the projects, can't think of any other projects coming before the town. We're not building another Frog Bridge. We're not, we're looking for outside funding for some other capital projects that you might hear about. We are trying to remodel the 3rd floor of Town Hall, but we are looking for, outside funding because the probate court would be going up there. So, why not let the probate system fund most of that? And most of our building is in good shape, but even during this project, we'll still fix roads, build sidewalks. We'll still be able to do that. Our debt service peaks out in the next few years, and then we start to decline. I really feel that we can absorb this debt. We have little impact. The town of Windham, if you look at what other towns and what CCM talks about, debt load, Windham has a relatively low debt load. And even with this project, we will maintain a lower debt load than many communities. We know, look at these costs, they're much less than the high school. The lower grade schools tend to cost less. And another thing is, I know that we're all hearing about rising interest rates at the Fed, but they really aren't coming back on municipal bonds. We bond municipally, and those costs are historic lows. Even 4%, I mean, when I first I don't know if Joanne remembers, I got out of high school and bought a house. I paid 18%, so 4.5% for a bond or 4% is still fairly inexpensive. But these two vacated schools, if we can get out of a lease, that's a big savings for the town. I put this in here thinking that we would provide some for economic, but it does provide economic value because we don't have to lease this other property. The town council, at this moment, I've been on town council, Lynn's been on the town council. We have never had a group before. Mark has been, I don't think we've ever had a group that's as supportive as this, of the education, public education in schools that we have today. The council is ready to and prepared to help support this. This project has not been brought out in the public to talk about like it has been tonight because it's really Superintendent Youngbird's show. And I hope you the best of luck for this and that the whole town can work together and just get this project done. And I'm looking forward to helping you in any way that you need.
Thanks, Tom. I just wanted to add one more thing that I don't know whether Dr. Youngberg, you don't have to stay up there. Dr. Youngberg said in her presentation that if we did all this, the oldest building in the town would be, school building would be this building that we're in right now.
That's correct. It's a little over 25 years old, and it would be the oldest school in the entire district, which is an amazing thought for the kids in Windham, that the facilities they're in are basically up to date, right? And we'd have one more building to...
And then we'd have to move on to the middle school and do what needs to be done here.
Absolutely.
But we wouldn't be leaving any school behind with a renovate as new for North Windham, along with the building new of a new school. So the board has had some conversation about this. I want to open it up for discussion and questions tonight, and I want to put in your mind the question of sort of what would be the next steps if we wanted to take this out and shop it around the community. What might be some good things that we could do to do that? And also remember we have Bob Roach here today, and he might be able to answer some other questions about construction and costs and things of that sort if people have them this evening. And Dr. Youngberg, is there anything you want to say before we move on to the discussion?
No, I just want to thank Mayor DeVivo. It's really nice to hear that the town is so behind, Windham Public Schools. Very exciting. Happy for our kids.
Want to start? Mary, you look like you're about to press your button. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds very exciting. I just have a little concern about the site, where Sweeney is, just in the sense of, has an in-depth kind of survey been done in terms of a larger capacity school being there. It's, yeah, in that footprint and that location. We have encountered some sort of nightmarish ledge at the high school, which only, because we're not increasing the footprint, but it does impact some of the parking and outer spaces. So I would really not want to have that issue come up. And, I would like to be more assured about, like, parking spaces there and the impact on the neighborhood of that kind of a school. I mean, so it's just very, pragmatic sort of issues about, using that site.
Bob, is there anything you'd like to say this evening about that?
Sure. Thank you. For the record, Bob Roach, Friar Architecture. Mary, so we've looked at the site. We've done some sketches on the site. An in-depth survey has not been done, but we do have the topography of the site. If we were serious in moving forward, getting to a point, I would recommend a lot more geotechnical borings than were done at the high school site. The Sweeney site is interesting because it's kind of a pie shape with like an extended long drive around. And if you walk out back here from the middle school, from the fields, it goes down to Sweeney. So in talking with Neil and Dr. Youngberg, we're just theorizing about, you don't have a lot of land, even once you take the school away, but there's opportunities there with the site to have, a larger two-story space in the back, for instance, or maybe you have the gym up top above the cafeteria, and you can walk out directly to the middle school site if they were going to share some of the fields and things like that. But we've done some rough sketches, some layouts, 700 student school, smaller, larger, different things, and it's all feasible. At this point, big fat markers, it all works right now. Once we get down to the thin pencils and we're really getting into it, that's when we're going to have to make harder decisions and have a lot more conversations.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else have any comments they want to make? Katina?
I am super excited to bring a brand-new elementary school to our kids in Windham, and thank you, Mayor DeVivo, for having the council and into this. Mansfield is building a state-of-the-art, beautiful elementary. I hope that ours compares, and not only compares, but surpasses their, their building and their facilities, because our kids deserve it the same. Yes, so I'm super excited that we have a K4 class, so that training and equity can happen among teachers and kids. I would want to make sure that in all conversations, all the administrators involved are participating, so nobody is left out of the loop at all levels, because we have different levels and it's very important. I would like some more information regarding transportation and consultation with the transportation people, definitely. So I'm ready to go out and knock doors and do a happy dance for our children. Thank you.
Thank you, Katina. Is there anybody else on the board who'd like to make any comments or ask any questions or request more information for further discussion? Paula?
I think given all the discussion we've had over the last 3 years, I think this is probably the one that we can bring forward with the most support. I think having to make decisions about which school to close and where to move students has been a really raw and difficult discussion. So the idea that we could possibly have one elementary school, brand new, that would include all kids, I think would be something that just about everybody can support. Obviously, we lose that one piece of a neighborhood school, but I think what we're going to gain in terms of the equity, teachers being able to relate at class level, those kinds of things I think are probably going to overshadow.
Paula, when you say teachers being able to relate at class level, do you mean like grade level teachers work together? Is that what you mean?
I think that was a comment that came up a lot when we started talking about the K2 and 3-4 school, where grade level teachers would have an opportunity to share information and professional development and what's happening in their classes.
Thank you. Katina, before I call you on you again, I want to see, Alicia, do you have anything you want to say about this? And then I'm going to ask Brendan and Mark if they have anything.
I was just going to say that it's a great idea, because having the teachers together, they can share all the information, how they teach, how they support their kids, and the teachers that are new are in a better situation when they're together with the teachers that teach the same grade.
And you're saying this is somebody who taught in the district for a number of years. Appreciate that.
Because I know, being a preschool teacher with all the preschool teachers together, it was a lot of support that we did together.
you. Mark or Brendan, is there anything you want to say or anything you want us to dig deeper on? Not to mention, Brendan, as Chair of School Planning Design, and I'm a member of that committee, we wouldn't be having conversations about how we're patching up roofs and fixing bathrooms. And, you know, we'd be able to spend more time on teaching our kids and getting technology into the classrooms and things of that sort. Yeah. Mark? Thank you, Mark. I appreciate those concrete suggestions. I do also want to note, Tom, you said you would send your comments to Brendan and Mark, but Ilda also needs them because she's absent this evening. So just want to make sure they go to Ilda too. That's all. Thanks. You may have given them to Holly and she can do it, but okay, thanks. Tracy, is there, oh, Katina, I know you wanted to speak a second time.
Yes, because I'm old and I have been here forever, and I know that once upon a time, Barrows was going to be the dual language magnet school, and renovating North Windham as new, oh my God, I want to scream of happiness. And having a dual language school, what an important contribution, not only to our children, but to our community and nation. We need to start learning different languages, and learning Spanish is muy importante. Gracias.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you. And it could be, if we have all this happening with the high school and Barrows, and then this new construction for elementary school and the dual language program, and the middle school making improvements and getting better and better, we could be keeping some kids in the district too, who are now, you know, by choice going to other districts. So I think we have to make these kind of decisions and make these kinds of moves if we want parents with children to continue to want to stay in this community and bring their children up in the community. So I also think we could attract some, you know, more teachers, you know, who might want to come to the district and work in these kind of programs. So if what I'm hearing, we should move forward and figure out how to have some public discussions about this with different stakeholders beginning in January, right as we're going into budget season. But I really think this is important for us to have this out there as we go into budget season, to show the community that we're really trying to figure out the long-term plan for our district, and we need them to be with us. Tracy, did you want to say something?
Just that it is true, it's budget season, which is always a really busy time, but the reality is this is part of the forward budgeting for the district. Without this, we would be in a very different place financially. This is of great benefit to the students if we can pull this off. So it might be the appropriate time. So you want my team and I to come together around the kinds of communication we might put out there and to start it as early as January.
Right, I mean, like stakeholder meetings or public forums. Mark suggested we do something, kick it off at Sweeney even. So let's have conversations about that. And I think all the board members should think about what might work and communicate with Dr. Youngberg's office, and then Robinson and other people can be helping with that process. The board will need to be full in on this. You know, we will need to be hitting the ground and going to these meetings and articulating this. We shouldn't just leave it to the administrators. Okay? Cool.
Very
Great.
exciting.
I have my mask on tonight, but I'm really smiling. This is really wonderful. Okay. Thanks for coming, Bob. We'll probably be seeing more of you. Thank you. So now we're going to go on to action items. And I'll entertain a motion. I mean, all of this information was in your packets. We're going to take the first few items on their own, and then when we get down to possible action on policies, we could consider taking action on chunks of those policies, except for items number 1 and 6. Also remember that we added approval of the superintendent evaluation rubric onto action items, so I'm going to take that first. I would entertain a motion to approve the use of the superintendent evaluation rubric that has been put forward, but from CABE. It's the CABE tool.
So moved.
Motion made by Katina. Do I get a second?
Second.
Second by Alicia. Is there any further discussion? Okay, please indicate your support for the motion by raising your hand. Unanimous. Thank you. So now we know what we're going to be using. We have our conversations with you. So the Grow Windham survey, I'll entertain a motion to approve the Grow Windham survey. We heard about this at our last meeting. Anybody want to make a motion? Okay, motion made by Mark. Do I get a second?
Second.
Seconded by Brendan. Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. Okay, it's unanimous. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the submission of the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act grant application. Motion made by Mark.
Second.
Seconded by Paula. Any discussion? I just want to say that it's so sad that this issue is getting worse, not better.
Correct.
So, all those in favor of the grant application submission, please indicate by raising your hands. It's unanimous. Thank you. Now we have a motion on the table for approval of budget transfers, and the $2 amounts combined are, can somebody tell me what? I'll entertain a motion to approve the 2 sets of recommended budget transfers.
So moved.
Yeah, I'd like to have a total. Thank you. Just trying to look in the packet. $1,057,338. Would somebody make that motion?
Alicia did.
So moved by Mark, seconded by Alicia. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion that's on the floor? It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, now we're on to the policy committee's recommendations. So let's take number 1 first, which we have to act on separately.
Five extra class activities regarding Sunday athletics. And we had a presentation by Randall Prost, and also oh no, it was not Randall, it was yes, SAC, I apologize. And we understand that these policy would be helping our student athletes participate in all kinds of sports and extracurricular activities on Sundays where other teams and towns participate. So it's important for them to have that ability.
Are there any, I'd entertain, motion put forward by Katina. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Paula. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak to this motion? Mary? Did you? Oh, okay.
I just had
Yes,
a
Paula.
question. I was surprised reading the policy that it wasn't a little more strict in terms of attendance. It sounds like it's very optional for the students if they have a practice on a Sunday to participate. I would almost expected to see, unless there were religious reasons for not being able to attend. So the coaches had no problem with it being that open-ended?
Correct. Coaches propose it as is, considering religious belief systems, ethnic and cultural activities, parents. So
Okay, so it was pretty
the
open-ended.
students won't be penalized for the Sunday absences. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mark?
So we haven't done a formal analysis, but we do acknowledge that it could potentially mean additional costs for us. We think the costs are benefits of having our students able to compete athletically like all the other towns that have this in place sort of outweighs what it might cost us.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark. Mary?
Yeah, I believe some of that was addressed in the course of the presentation from the athletic director, in the sense of this is because there are often practices during season on Saturdays, but because of events that may occur on Saturdays that prevent that mean many of the students wouldn't be there, it would be instead on a Sunday. So the costs and all of the supervision and all of the security issues would just be on a different day, and it would still follow the SEAC rules that you cannot go beyond 6 of these practice sessions a week or something like that. I mean, it is well thought out, and it, of course, includes all of the security, et cetera, that would always be in place.
Thank you, Mary.
Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion that's on the floor, please raise your hand. It's unanimous. And I think Mark's points should be taken into consideration, and maybe Mark should get some explanation from the coaches about how this will work better.
I'll work on getting specific details for sure.
Thanks. Now I would entertain a motion if the board would like to approve items D2 through 5. Somebody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Mary, and a second? Second, Mark? Brendan can have that one. Okay, second by Brendan. And any further discussion on these items? Okay, all those in favor, please indicate by raising your hands. Unanimous. Oh, we're a divided board tonight. Now I'll entertain a motion, a single motion on item number 6, which is review and possible approval of policy 9326, bylaws of the board.
So moved. Oh, Brandon
Motion
can
made
have
by
it.
Brendan and seconded by Katina. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of a motion that's on the floor? It's unanimous, thanks. And then I would entertain one single motion to approve items D7 through 15, I think.
Correct.
They're all related to repealing policies.
So I move that we move into a single motion for that.
Okay, Katina made that motion. Anybody second it?
Second.
Second by Alicia, thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hands. It's unanimous. And then we have one more item for action, which is item number E, approval of the district's nurse logo. Pretty exciting for the nurses to have a logo.
And there's a few more departments that will be coming to you in January. It is really exciting to see them do the updates connected to the school's logos, so.
Yeah, those nurses deserve a logo. So I'll entertain a motion on that.
So moved.
I'll take a shot and give you some promotion.
I think Paula beat you to it, but, so Paula will make, and then you can do the
I can
second.
take it back, Mark.
You can do a shot and take the second on that. Okay. So any further discussion on that? All those in favor, please raise your hands. Unanimous, thank you. And that gets us to public comment at the end of the meeting. Is there anybody who would like to speak during public comment? Suzanne, is there anything you want to say, since this is your last meeting with us? I don't want to put you on the spot, but as I understand it, you've spent your entire career with us to this point.
It was already on. Tricked me. Well, I want to thank the Board of Education for the opportunity. I've had great professional growth in Windham, as Ms. Hyde said. I started as a student teacher here in Windham and have had the pleasure of working my way up through the organization. I promise I'll try not to cry. I cry a lot lately. This is probably the hardest decision I've ever made to try something new. So excited, nervous. I keep telling people I've been here almost 18 years. It's like going off to college. But this time I'm not bringing my friends with me. I'm leaving them all behind. Everyone's in good hands, and I just want to thank Sarah Larson publicly. She's an amazing asset to Windham, and she's off to another great adventure, so we're really proud of her and her next steps professionally as well. So Sarah, thank you for everything you've done for Windham and the students here. I think she's on tonight as well.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Sarah, if you were on, would you like to say anything? I didn't know you were with us this evening. Oh, she's not on, okay. Okay. I need some new glasses so I can read everything up there. Anybody else during public comment? No? Okay, so listen, I hope everybody has a lovely holiday season, no matter what you celebrate. And I hope you can spend time with loved ones and get a little rest and relaxation during the break. And we'll see you next in the new year. and we have lots of exciting things to work on together next year. And so hearing no further speakers, I will entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:24. Brendan? Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.